fourth edition of the OKPEKPE 10-kilometer road race held in the hilly community north of Edo State, Nigeria. This year's event attracted some of the leading road runners in the world in line with the IAAF bronze label status of the race. With total prize monies exceeding $100,000, there was so much to run for. Strong Kenyan and Ethiopian contingents made up the elite field alongside an improving number of Nigerians hoping to ruffle feathers. The race got off to its usual energetic start and it took almost a kilometer to separate the whiff from the chaff. Just as they passed the 1 kilometer mark, Tanzania's Ishmael Galet, Kenya's Morris Chachanga, and the tall figure of his compatriot Simon Cheprot were among the leading pack in the men's race as they descended the first valley. The runners made the first turn of the route into the 3rd kilometer. Number 66 Henry Kipsang led, but the leading pack was still very much skin to skin. Meanwhile, on the women's side, Pauline Njeru of Kenya led the likes of Zefi Lemene and Gutera Buznesh of Ethiopia. She separated herself from the pack by about 10 meters, but she was always mindful of the time. The men's front runners were by now into the 4th kilometer, with Kipsang still in the lead, but fellow Kenyan Cheprot, Timothy Tirotich of Uganda, and Tanzania's Galat were all amongst the leading bunch, reduced to 8 runners. Into the 3rd kilometer in the women's section, Njeru was now the clear leader. She increased the gap on the descent to about 15 meters, then crossed the road, perhaps to confuse the chasing pack about her race strategy. The men's front runners were a determined and strong bunch. 7 runners were still grouped together into the 6th kilometer, with another not too far behind. However, Henry Kipsang, the number 66, was asking more questions as they approached the 7th kilometer. Tirotich and Cheprot had time to share a bottle of water in the melting heat. Back to the women's race, 27-year-old Njeru was still leading with a considerable gap, still intact despite the high temperatures. Well behind her were Ndima, Esther and Buzunesh, and she again changed lanes to use the entire width of the road. Njeru finally got much needed refreshment 5 kilometers into the race, with the gap between her and her nearest challengers now over 30 meters. As professional athletes were running for the prize money on offer, corporate Nigeria and other influential figures in the West African country also supported the fight against cancer through their participation in the race.
And so today I'll be making a donation also, $1,000 for cancer and another $1,000 for orphanage as well. I could only wear one shirt, so it's the cancer one.
How's the procession been for you?
How's the procession? Very well, very well. It's going well. It's a bit hard under the sun, all this, but coping. We're coping.
So it's looking like you're halfway, just halfway to go. Yes. So hopefully we'll see you at the finish line.
I don't know if it's encouraging to know it's only halfway or if it's, but thank you for the encouragement.
Yeah, you're doing really well. You're doing a fantastic job.
Well, there's a big hill at the end. Let's see if we can manage it.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, to the glory of God.
Can you introduce yourself for the viewers at home?
Well, I'm the world rapper man, the only man in the world since 2010 that runs marathon dressed with a 20 yards rapper and a 4 kg weight. I'm a Nigerian, proudly Robo. I've been outside Nigeria for quite some time, and I came back to contribute my own quota to running. And as a matter of fact, this year, by the grace of God, we're introducing Rapper Marathon in Nigeria.
A Rapper Marathon. Now, what's the story behind you wearing a rapper?
Well, I have the world record of the longest rapper in the world. It's 38 yards, registered with a Guinness World Record, with a claimant receipt number and a membership number. I'm a Nigerian and I'm proud to be that.
Okay, are you running for cancer? I can see.
Yeah, we're running for a cause.
You're running for a cause?
When I win the $15,000, man, I'm going to give it out. Surprise you, man.
I think it's a... Can you introduce yourself for the viewers at home?
Yeah, my name is Abu Inu Umoru, Chairman Setraco Construction Company, Nigeria Limited.
Now, this race obviously has a different feel for you because you're actually behind the construction of the roads here, aren't you?
Very well, yes.
And
these roads have been built for 4 years now, and you can see that they are still very in good conditions, and they've stood the test of time.
Now, speaking along the test of time, how does it feel for you to be walking? What are your thoughts as you walk along this road that you've constructed?
Very well. I know everybody's here for a reason. The purpose is to participate in the OKPEKPE race. I'm also here for that reason, but each time I take a step, I look at the road to see if there's any fault and see if there's any defect that needs to be fixed.
So you're actually inspecting the roads as you're taking part in the race, which is really interesting.
Very well, yes.
Are there any other good causes that you're also interested in?
The terrain of the environment is quite fascinating. I'm glad that OKPEKPE Road has stood the test of time, and for years it's been ongoing. I'm sure it has attracted a lot of visitors from far and wide. As much as they can see, it's not only to come here for the race. It's a nice environment, a serene environment that you can come and relax. I'm sure over time, a lot of entrepreneurs will look into putting a resort here to attract visitors.
As the men made yet another descent, the leaders had been reduced to a group of 5. Tirosic, Cheproj, Kipsang, Galet and Chachanga crossed the 7th kilometer together. The slope had its peculiar challenges to weary legs, but the East Africans negotiated with ease. It was still the same group of runners in the lead as they entered the 8th kilometer to ascend the highest point of the route. The hill proved to be a bit too much for Chachanga. He was subsequently left behind by the other 4. With a few minutes left, Cheproj picked up the pace. He led from then on till he breasted the tape as the 2016 champion of the OKPEKPE road race 10 kilometer in 29 minutes and 48 seconds. Galet of Tanzania was second and Uganda's Tirosic was third. On the women's side, as Njeru entered the 7th kilometer mark, she had company of a Nigerian runner on yet another descent. Victory was just 3 kilometers away. The rigors of the climb got more intense as they neared the 9th kilometer. This was the highest point of the route after all. Njeru's Nigerian companion could hardly cope. She resorted to briefly walking, whereas Njeru powered on with the little energy left in her. It was excruciating ascending the height, but with victory so close, Njeru had no choice, more so as Ndiema had somehow managed to close the gap between them to just 5 meters. Njeru looked back to see the approaching challenge. Ndiema had obviously coped better with the hill with the way she had narrowed the gap. As they reached the home stretch, there was barely a gap between the 2 competitors. Ndiema had caught up as the 2 battled for the lead. A sprint finish was on the cards at this one. Ndiema was in the lead with less than a kilometer to go. She looked the steady of the 2 as she saved her best for the final few meters. But Njeru would have none of that. She suddenly picked up the pace, cheered on by the locals. Ndiema, as it turned out, was not up for the fight, seemingly content with second, and so it finished, with Gutere finishing in third. Simon Cheproj was the standout performer in the elite men's section as he finished with a time of 29 minutes and 48 seconds. Ishmael Galet was second, with Uganda's Timothy Tirosic rounding off the top 3. Galet was a few seconds off the pace, with the man from Tanzania showcasing his quality throughout in what was a close finish in the men's section. Pauline Njeru showed good determination to overcome Ndiema Esther in what proved to be an epic battle between these 2 in the women's section. Njeru clocked a time of 33 minutes and 23 seconds, with Ndiema coming in 15 seconds later in a time of 33 minutes and 35 seconds. Kuzunesh Gerechao finished third overall as the Ethiopian clocked a time of 33 minutes and 58 seconds. Adamu Shahu Muhazu was the highest finisher among the Nigerian runners in 11th, with Stephen Joshua and Emmanuel Gian also finishing with respectable times. Deborah Pem finished 33rd overall, but she was the fastest Nigerian woman as she clocked a time of 38 minutes and 18 seconds. The locals also competed in the race, with James Raphael and Mary Imo Dumhe cruising to victory.